Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Jean Umberto. In this video we are going to take a look at using Windows timers, and as usual we are going to take a quick overview and then we'll move on to practice. So let us see what timers are. A timer can be used in two scenarios. First of all, if you want to do something repeatedly, and that is over and over again after a specified amount of time, and that could be milliseconds, could be seconds, minutes, hours, and so on. Now in JavaScript we use the global function setInterval to achieve that, and which is available globally in your application and which you can get directly from the Windows object. Now the setInterval function operates like a loop, except that when you use it, the action is taken after a given amount of time. The second scenario is when you want to do something only once, and that is of course after a given amount of time. And in JavaScript we use the setTime function to do just that. So here is the first use case. In an application you may want to use an animated photo album. For example, you might want to have one photo displayed for 5 seconds, and then another photo comes in replacing the first one, and then the next photo comes in after 5 seconds, and you can continuously replace these photos just like you've seen on many websites today or mobile applications. And of course that is the interval function, so you can set it. The second use case is when you want to alert a user of a new product. For example, the user visits the website and you want to inform them of something new at the company or at the organization, and so you can actually pop up a message 5 minutes after the user has visited the page. So that is an example of a timeout. So the last thing I want to mention here is that it's always a good idea to clear the timer to avoid infinity, and of course that is a case where you forgot to tell or to instruct the program when to stop an action, and it continuously repeat the action, and therefore consuming more RAMs from the user's machine and sometimes getting your browser to even crash. So you should always remember to clear the timers. Thank you very much, and let us move on to practice. Okay, so here we are back in NetBeans, and what we are going to do is continue working with our JS arrays project. And the reason why I'm doing this is because at the end you should be able to work with everything that we have done so far, and that includes creating an array and accessing array using an index, but also iterating over the array itself. And what we are going to do now is start working with the setInterval method, and this is of course is going to give you a chance to see how you can later on start creating arrays that will display one item at a time, and of course that will depend on the time that you set. For example, if you want something to be displayed after a certain amount of time, let's say 5 seconds, then that particular object or that particular thing itself will be displayed after that given amount of time. And of course we have spoken about practical use cases here, such as displaying a photo in an animation for 5 seconds or less, and then displaying another photo and another, and so on and so forth. So let me go ahead and create a file here, and let me call it timers. So I'll go ahead and click on finish, get rid of all the generated comment, save my file. Like I said earlier, you can access the setInterval method from the Windows object, but because it's a global function, you can just go ahead and start accessing it from anywhere in your code. So let us go ahead and do just that. So let me go ahead and just type in setInterval, and the setInterval function expects 2 arguments. So the first will be a function, and we're going to write an anonymous function, and the second argument is of course the integer which represent the delay. So here I'm just gonna say function, and this is an anonymous function that I'm creating here, and right after the function right here, okay, the function body start here and it ends right here. So I'll go ahead and simply say I want this to happen after 3 seconds. So 1 second will be equivalent to 1,000, and of course when we talk about thousands here, we are talking about milliseconds. So what I want to do here, I want something to happen, okay? And what do I want to do? Every after 3 seconds, I just want to print a message on the screen. So I will simply say console.log, and I will say yes, we are writing code. Okay, so I want to display this message every 3 seconds. So I'll go ahead and save this file, run it. 3 seconds. Okay, that's the first, that's the second, the third time, the fourth time, and you can see it will continue displaying that message. So if you think about an application where you are required to display or to do something after a given amount of time, after a certain delay, this is how you can basically implement the solution. So what I want to do is kill the process here. If I don't kill the process here, what is going to happen is that I can go ahead and change something. Okay, I can go ahead and change this message and say message 2, and I can run this file again. Okay, but you can see I'm not getting message 2 in the first instance. What I got first was yes, we are writing code, and you can see I have message 2, and I still have the first process, which was yes, we are writing code. So again, that's what I spoke about infinity. You have to make sure that you clear the interval, you stop it, okay, before you can do something. Otherwise, your users will have issues with memory, and you don't want your program to consume most of your users' memory. So right now, this computer can continuously display these messages, and you can imagine how much RAM this is taking. So before you implement any other thing, it's very important to first kill the current or the ongoing process. So I'll go ahead and say kill. So now I'm killing all the process, and you can see that we had 2 processes here, and you can see the ID of each of those processes. So it's very important to always make sure that you kill the process. So this is how you can do it when you're writing code. But in practice, your users don't have to see your code. So you have to give them a user interface, and you have to make sure that right within the code, you stop the process, or you actually kill the interval or the timer by yourself. So let me go ahead and change this code here. What I want to do is I want to create something that's going to look like a loop using the set interval. So what we want to do is to start counting from one number to another number. And like I said earlier, the difference between the set interval and the loop is that the set interval is called or execute after a delay. Okay, so let me go ahead and just do this. Or I can actually change this and just write 10 for now. Okay, I'll go ahead and run. So that we're going to have a new process running after 3 seconds. That's 10. That's 10. That's another 10. So I'm going to kill the process here again, and I want to reduce the delay. So we will go back again and see. So now you can see 10, 10, 10, 10 every 1 second. So that's okay. Now what we want to achieve is we want to see 10, and then we want to see 11, and then 12. So we want to increment by 1 each time. So the way we can do it is basically create a variable. Okay, so I can create a variable right before this function, and I'm just calling that var n. Okay, and to n I have assigned the value 10. Okay, so I've got a number 10 which is assigned to a variable called n, and what I can do is basically just say n right here, which will do exactly the same thing. So I'll go ahead and stop the process here. I run the code again. I still have the same 10 like before, but now we are not just printing it directly, but we are printing the container where it is saved, that is n. So what I can basically do, I'm just going to go ahead and kill that process again, and down here I'll simply say n++. So now what I'm trying to do is increment, and I'm saying after printing, take whatever value we have, the updated value, and add 1 to it. And I'm sure you'll remember about the unary operator we spoke about earlier, and of course one of them is the increment operator. So I'll go ahead and run that code again, making sure that my process has been terminated, and I'll run that. Now you can see we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and it will of course continue going on. So let's say you had 20 pictures or 20 items to display after every 1 second or 5 seconds, and because you know there are only 20, so you can actually say you want to start from 1 and then stop when the number is 20. So what we'll use is the clear interval method to kill the current timer. So what I'm going to do is basically come right here, and I'm going to save everything that I've done here inside another variable, and I'll explain why just now. So I'll say timer 1. So now I have stored this call right into a variable. So now every time I need to reference or I need to address this particular block of code, I can simply use the name that represents it. So that will be timer 1. So now this is what I'll say here. I'll say if n, if the value of n, okay, if the value of n is greater than 20, okay, and what I want to do is simply say clear interval, and now which interval are we clearing? We are clearing the timer 1 interval. So that is what we are trying to kill. We want to kill that particular process. So I'll go ahead and save, and now because we started counting from 10, when the number gets to 20, so it will try to print 21 and then it will stop because 21 is already greater than 20, so that will not display. So I'll go ahead and run the code again, making sure that I have killed the process here. I will run this again. Now we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And now you can see that the timer has successfully stopped. So it's very, very important. You don't want your program to get into an infinite loop. You want to make sure that at some point you stop. So that is basically how you use that first function, which is the set interval function. Now you can also simply say window.setInterval. That will basically mean the same, because this is basically a method that is declared right within the global window object. So I'm going to go ahead and comment everything here, and we want to talk about the last function, which is the set timeout. Okay, so like I said earlier, what the set timeout does is basically execute an action after a given amount of time, but it's only executed once, so it does not repeat the action. You have to say, for example, after 10 minutes or after 5 seconds, when the user has opened the page, you can show them a message that we are selling new shoes, or we are selling any other new product that you want to display. And you can see this a lot on today's web applications. So we can go right here and simply say set timeout, and we're going to pass the same argument like we've done before, and this time I just want to say that I want to do something after 5 seconds. And what I want to do is simply say console.log yes, this is after 5 seconds, and I'll go ahead and close the statement. So I'm just gonna save, and now we no longer need to worry about any ongoing process, because you know that we have stopped the previous process, and we stopped it, of course, when the number reached 20, so we no longer have to kill it from here. Now I want to run this code. Okay, so now we see nothing, and of course until 5 seconds. Okay, so you can see now, yes, this is after 5 seconds. Now this is not going to repeat at all. What repeats is the set interval, but the set timeout does not repeat. Okay, so that's it about timers in JavaScript, and I hope you can start trying to see how you can have a huge array and start accessing one element at a time, and maybe after a number of seconds, using the set interval function. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.